The concept of hooks is similar to Drupal hooks, however, it has nothing to do with Drupal implementation and instead are some methods being triggered at a specific point during the component rendering cycle. All available hooks are described on the documentation page. I suggest you to go for it and read their description because they can be very helpful in your day-to-day job. For now, I'll show you a few of them just so you have some idea of how to use them and potential use cases for them. Let's start with a hook called mount. So we define it as a method on our class, so public function mount. The mount method will be called only once on the initial page load and will never be called again, even when the component refreshes. But it will run before render, which means you can populate properties with values and they will be available in the template because it runs before render method. For example, you might want to retrieve some specific data from database. In my case, I have the property name which represents my model with default value Aaron. As per PHP rules, we can only define static values as default value of our properties. But if I need some more dynamic data, for example, from the database, I can assign this value in the mount method. If I visit my page and refreshing, I can see that the value Maria has been set indeed as a default value. Mount can also receive arguments from the place it's been included. So in our case, this component is included via wire twig function in page.html.twig, and we can pass any arguments from twig, and these arguments can be intercepted as an argument in the mount method. Back to the PHP class. I'm going to set a breakpoint here, and we'll add the method argument. Let me refresh the page. And on the next request, the argument has been received from our twig function. Additionally, when including our wire component, we can pass additional arguments with a key which matches our public properties. So name in our case is a model, and by passing in this value, this will also set that property as a default value. Let's refresh the page. And I've got an error. I defined incorrectly the key value pair. I need a semicolon. Let me refresh. Okay, so if we inspect the this element, we see that name, which is the public property of the class, is now set as a value from twig. Let me refresh the page now. And I still have Maria as a default value, while I would expect XXX. Why did this happen? Because right in the mount, we are overriding again name as Maria. So if I'm commenting that out, I'm getting XXX as expected. Let me revert all this. Exactly the same can be achieved if we are including our components via renderable array. So let me comment out this inclusion here. And I'm going to my controller. I'll include my component via renderable array. In this case, to pass variables, we will use the context key, which is very similar to inline_template renderable element of Drupal. And it's the same thing. We can pass arguments. We'll override my public property name as well with PHP function time. We'll visit the page now, and I'm expecting my name input to have the timestamp as default value, which it is. And to accept the other arguments, as before, should accept this argument. Another hook you might find useful is called updated. Let me add it. It accepts two arguments, name and value. In the name argument, we will receive the name of a property, be it name in our case or reason, and the value is the property value. I'll add a breakpoint so we can catch when it runs. And we'll change my reason model to behave as live, basically removing the defer modifier. And by doing so, anytime the change event will happen on my dropdown, the updated will catch that that property has changed and will let me act accordingly on it. Let's give it a try. So I'm going to my page, selecting an option in my multiple dropdown. The update method has been triggered, and the name is the name of a property, reason, and value is the values of the dropdown. If I do it again, the value contains both options selected. An use case for this hook would be when on a checkout form, when a user fills in their email address but abandoned the cart. If the email was a valid one, we can actually catch that email, save in the database, and follow up with our marketing strategies. Okay, but this hook is a very generic one because it will be fired up on any value update. And actually we can be more specific because we can do updated and append the name of our property. So we have our property reason. We can use the hook updated reason. And only when specifically the reason will be updated, then this will be fired up. Let's give it a try. I'm selecting again one option, and this specific method has been triggered with value as my selected options. To give you one more idea where this can be used is in the context of dependent fields. Let's say I want to react to when name is being updated, and I'll remove the fair modifier so it behaves as a live model. And in the method itself, assuming that my reason select model is dependent on the name, I can reset the reason anytime the name changes. Let's check it out in the browser. And I got an error. Okay, this argument in mount is not needed anymore because I've commented out passing any arguments. So I think should work now. Yes, so if I'm selecting anything here, works okay. But as soon as I type anything in the name field, the values of reason is reset. These hooks are the most important ones you would need to be aware of, but please have a look at the documentation page if you have the chance, where you'll find more details about this, and even JavaScript hooks, which I didn't mention before, but I'll cover them later.